Well, hello everyone. Let me just double check that I make sure I've got some audio going through. Welcome to today's Bird Dog live session, and I have a very good show for you today. We will be talking with Dan, but more on that in a minute. As always, love to welcome everyone to the show. Thank you all for being here. We actually got a good audience today for a live show. I know it's a challenge for people to tune in because they got other stuff going on. So thank you all. We've had some people chime in with where they're watching from already. If you haven't already, throw that in the comments. And as always, the whole point of being here during a live show is so that you can ask questions. And we will do our best to answer them during the live show. And so thank you for being here. And you get the opportunity not just to ask questions, but you also get a chance to win a subscription to BirdDog Connect. And that is going to be available at the end of the show. And if you don't know what Connect is, you've tuned into the right show, because we're going to be talking about that today. We're going to connect all the dots. Well, we'll connect most of the dots. So go to this entry form here, bit.ly/BD entry for BirdDog entry, or use your phone if you're watching on a computer. Point your phone at this. These will take you to an entry form. Fill out the entry form, your name, your email address. Type in your email address again in case there was a typo. Answer a couple questions. Tell us what kind of BirdDog cameras you might have or whatnot. What's your favorite gear? Things like that. Nothing too serious, and hit enter on that, and then the entry will come in. And I can tell you right now, nobody's entered. So whoever enters first has a 100% chance of winning. So that's how this contest works. So again, this is your entry form at the bottom. And feel free to chime in with where you are watching from, because that's the whole magic of live streaming, is that we can get people from around the world. We have technicians in Wellington, New Zealand. Very nice. That's actually right around the corner. Well, around the corner. Dan will say it's still a couple hours away. See, Balls Promo TV, Woombi, Queensland, Australia, near the Big Pineapple. Max Tech is saying hello from Los Angeles. Oh, wow. Video company VCC is saying hello from Holland. And River Digital is saying Southeast Missouri. I'm leaving this up here so that you can, have this information and sign in. And then earlier on in the show, we've got Winnipeg, Canada, and we've got Radio Digital in Southeast Missouri. So we are literally reaching around the world from New Zealand, Europe, and America. And that's the whole point of putting the show where it is, so that you all can you hear it repeated with a delay of several seconds. Yes, I will fix that in a second. Saying hi from Los Angeles. So thank you very much, everybody, for being there. And let's go back to here. And in the news, BirdDog is the winner at Infocom. Not only did they win for the Max camera for AV technology, keyboard, sound and video contractor, the Mach-E Live, the little battery-powered camera, tech and learning, and the Mach-E Studio, which we've covered in a previous show. So go check out the previous show if you want to find out more about Mach-E Studio. Fantastic show. Also, I don't know why there's a drag to move it there. Okay. There's free software just recently announced for education, worship, and nonprofits. You can find more at BirdDog TV/together. So for education, worship, and nonprofit, you can sign up for free software from BirdDog. So go there if you are have an organization that can benefit from that. And again, the awards just lined up at the BirdDog booth at Infocom, so that was very gratifying to see that these new products that are coming out are definitely being recognized by the industry. Without further ado, let me bring on Dan, who is our special guest waking up at the crack of dawn in Australia. So thank you for being there.
Hey, no problems at all. Glad to be here. It is early, but I think I'm awake. I've got my coffee, so we'll be good. It's going to be fun today.
It is definitely going to be fun. So for those who are completely unaware, give us a high-level overview of BirdDog Connect.
No worries at all. So BirdDog Connect, it's our platform. We've actually had a previous generation of this for quite a few years. It used to be called BirdDog Cloud, but it really didn't give the product really justice. BirdDog Connect, it's all about connecting video and content and productions wherever you are. And it can be directly in a local production or it can be around the world. It's got tools that can really make things just a whole lot easier for whatever you need to do. Now, that can be anything from building up a multi-viewer to be able to monitor any of your cameras that you have just on your iPad or your iPhone or whatever device you use, right through to doing complete remote productions where you can have all of your cameras off-site, keeping them all synchronous and producing that show somewhere else. So you can basically control those cameras wherever you are in the world. And the whole idea behind Connect really is to take the technology away and make it just a whole lot easier to get a production done. And a cool thing, which we probably won't have time to cover in this show, is also our post-production workflows as well. So after you've done a live, or if you're doing a show that's actually in non-linear editing, like in Adobe or Premiere, or Avid Media Composer, Connect even has a workflow for that. But think of it really as a toolbox to get anything you'd like done, where if you wish you could flip a format, or if you could bring something in, or if you could interact with something remotely, Connect's going to help you.
That is very, it's very comprehensive, and I think we have a slide that speaks to that. See if I can rearrange this like this. Go through here to this. It's like SDI and SRT integration. As you said, reliable remote production, but it's more comprehensive than all of that, really.
Look, it is, and I think actually that top part there, where we've got, if you look at this NDI, there's SRT, excuse me, there's REMI, then there's other acronyms and all the rest. Yeah, we live in an industry and we work in productions where acronyms are all over the place, and trying to work out how to glue those together and make things happen is hard. And that's where Connect just makes it so much easier for all of that stuff. But effectively, you can interact between the real world with cameras, whether they're NDI or SDI. You can interact with people wherever they are over the internet with whatever protocol makes sense, without having to worry too much about how that's going to work. And I think probably the best thing to do once we get into this is I can show you how that all operates as well. It's a really simple dashboard that just takes the confusion out of it and gets you back to producing.
And for those that are interested in this, I also want to say that Dan and I have worked out a little bit ahead of time, and I have a camera here in my studio that it doesn't have to be BirdDog, right? Because it's any NDI source, but it happens to be a BirdDog P200, and I have it on, I have it connected. And I'm in Texas, he's in Australia, and I've got a couple of other sources playing from vMix, and technically you should be able to see all three of these things, right?
Yeah, through the magic of Connect, and this is something we're going to do live. I was actually traveling yesterday, so the testing that we did yesterday was literally me being on a public Wi-Fi up in Brisbane, which is another city here in Australia, and just making sure we had a connection. So we're doing this at 6 o'clock in the morning here. Hopefully I'm going to be able to show you how it all works from Texas to Australia, but it's pretty magic, and the way that it works is very, very cool.
All right. Well, without further ado, I'm sure people are interested in checking this out. So let's dive in. What do you have to show us?
Let's do it. Okay, I'm just going to change over my screen here to make it so we're actually I'll go to this one here, which is a full screen, and you'll see this. My web browser. Hopefully you can see that. So basically,
can you flip it horizontally?
Woo, this is where the magic of television. We didn't test it beforehand. I don't know whether I can. Let me give it a go.
Are you going through vMix or other software, or in the browser that you're connected to?
The browser may be able to do it. Let's give that a go. I'm cheating here because I've got a bunch of different screens, so I'm using OBS actually. I can just do a screen share as well if this doesn't work, but let's give it 10 seconds and see whether we can make it work.
And I will say that I am producing this using Restream, which is in the cloud. And one of the magic things that Restream does not have, it does not have the ability for me to reverse his feed, to horizontally flip his feed. It would be really useful in a situation like this. But as you can see, not all tools have all capabilities.
No, that's right. Yes.
If I was producing this in vMix, I'd be like, click, click, you're done. All fixed.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, I think if no, it's still flipped to us. If there's a way to
Yep.
flip the feed to us, why is it flipped? Because that's what cameras. We actually get a question. Bowles Promo says, "Why is it flipped?" Well, because cameras flip the image so that when I point to the left, I see it on the left, but it's actually flipped for the viewer so that it looks correct. Well, that doesn't work when you're feeding a screen through the same feed. And that's actually literally why I have a bird dog shirt that has the bird dog on it, so that if I am flipped to the viewer, then it doesn't appear backwards. It doesn't have text on the screen. Otherwise, I'd have to worry about being flipped one way or the other as well. But that is a very common thing that we do see happen in the online world, especially when you use a streaming app like we are using.
Okay, so Anthony, what I've done is just do a screen share within Restream. So hopefully you can see my screen share as a separate input there that we can
Yep,
switch over to.
there we go.
Okay, we're good, and we're not flipped. We can
No,
see
it's
stuff.
it's definitely readable. We got it.
Excellent. All right. So basically, with BirdDog Connect, it's all driven by a web browser, and that web browser can be inside your location. So it can be just inside your local network where you log in, or it can be anywhere in the world. You can access it like I was yesterday through public Wi-Fi wherever you'd like. So I'm just going to log in. The website is connect.birddog.tv, and so I'm going to log in here with my username. So. And then we're greeted with the BirdDog Connect panel. So basically, this is where you control anything you want to do. And so right now, there's nothing connected at all. We're just logged in and we want to do something with our video that's around the location. I'm just going to give you a really quick little rundown of the interface and then just get something happening so you can see how it works. On the left-hand side here, we've got these things called endpoints. And they're computers that are running the BirdDog Connect service that can be anywhere in the world. My one here is this Mac Edit one. And you can see here there's some offline ones, so yeah, you can have them turned on and off, and they can appear as they're ready. They could be laptops, or they might just be turned on for specific use cases. And the interesting one here is this Mac Mini here, and you can see it's at IEBA Communications. Now that's actually an endpoint that's been set up, or it's a computer that's been set up by Anthony over in Texas under a completely different company name. And what he's done is temporarily loaned that connection to me, so I can interact with his company's connections. So that means if you've got a remote site or if you've got an affiliate company, you can turn on and off and share access to other companies' assets whenever you like, which is really cool. And we'll jump into that a bit later. We'll get into some connections up the top here where we can go incoming and outgoing connections. And then across here, there's from one place to another. Routing within your organizer, you can actually take video sources and route them to different outputs. We've got the ability to view any cameras in a web browser, and I'll continue down that path shortly. First thing I'm going to do though is add an outgoing connection. Like I said earlier, with Connect, we take all of the acronyms and make it just easy to interact between them all. So we can work with whatever type of connection you'd like. We can work with, you might have seen SRT before. There's also NDI NDI bridge that we can work with. And I'm going to do a quick connection here with this one, which is called a web stream. This is actually really cool because I can see all of my sources that are in my little home network here. I'm just going to connect to this camera. And just bear with me 1 second while I publish this into what's called a Web Connect group. I'm going to say Dan's camera. And I'll make a little comment here. So this is Dan's NDI camera. Because that's important for later. We'll check out what that does. And I'm just going to hit connect. So what that does is go away and actually connect to my camera and actually make this now available for me to see. And you'll see down the bottom here, under this group, I've now got Dan's camera, which is published. So a really quick demo to see what we can do here is if I go into the web streams and log in. Now this can be shared with the customer, it can be shared with someone else, where if they want to just monitor a camera, we can log in. And you can see here, I've now got my camera in the beginnings of a multi-view. And as you connect more of these cameras into a multi-view, they'll appear here. But the cool thing with that is we're monitoring what the camera is, which is great. That's what a multi-view would do. But if I click on here, I've now got access to the full control of this camera, so I can actually move this around. And you'll see here, I can use my keyboard and mouse and actually move the camera around. I can recall presets and interact directly with that. And I can have a look at that camera, then I could pop out and edit another camera or change another camera. So within a production, just in a regular web browser, I can access any of my NDI cameras. Not only see them like you would normally on a web browser, on a viewer, but also adjust your PTZ controls, reframe shots. It can be really cool. If you're remote and you've got someone that's doing an interview, you can just log in through a web browser and just bump that camera just a little way forward or something like that. So where I'm going to get a bit of fun, and what Anthony was talking about before, is if I go back to my connections, remembering I've got access to Anthony's camera as well. So if I create a new connection for him under this Web Connect and publish it into the same group, so this was this branded group, you can see here, here's Anthony's P200. And now I can go...
Uh-oh, what are we going to see now?
Well, yes, this is where... Right, so I'm just going to hit connect. So again, remembering I'm doing this in Melbourne just on a web browser, but I could be doing it anywhere we like. You'll see here it's just going to quickly connect, and now it says it's got my little connection logo there. So if I now go back into my web streams, now I've got two. So it'll just take a second to connect, and there we are. That's pretty cool, right? And now with Anthony's camera, I can click into Anthony's camera and I can go, actually, I want to move his one around. And
there you go.
And anyone that was wondering how Anthony had a green logo with a green screen, you can see there the secret. He's actually running a blue screen at the moment, so with the behind the scenes there. But you can see here, this is actually, even just that as a really quick little connection thing is really pretty awesome to be able to not only see the camera, but then also interact with presets and realign those shots. And it's all keyboard shortcuts as well. So you can see here, I'm actually doing a slow pan, and I can actually move the camera down. And we can make them move as fast or as slow as you like. So you can actually do some little nudges on air and things, particularly for people that don't necessarily have control locally. So it's really, really neat. And from a delay or a latency perspective, it's super, super fast. Like it's a very, very quick connection. I've done tests from one side of, from one side of the world to the other, and we were doing sort of clapping and trying to work out which was faster. And Connect is way faster than any screen sharing, any video conferencing, any FaceTime or anything like that. It's super, super low latency. And the beauty of this type of connection is you don't need to worry about network ports. You don't need to get all nerdy with all of that connectivity stuff. It literally will just work wherever you are in the world, which is really pretty cool. So that's kind of one little very quick demonstration of what Connect can do. What I'm going to do now is get probably a little bit more advanced and show you some other cool stuff that's pretty neat. Things like multi-views and interacting with that video as well. So much like I made that connection, which was my camera, I just want to make a new connection here, which is a multi-view, for example. So if I choose a multi-view, again, I've got access to all of the video sources on my network on this computer. If you had a Blackmagic capture card, you'd have access to all of those SDI sources as well, that you can interact and make whatever you'd like as far as a multi-view. I'm going to make this thing called a presenter mode, which is a really neat kind of layout. And I'm just going to do a 50-50, and let's choose one camera for the first source, second source. I'll grab my computer as well. And let me just grab my iPad just for the fun of it. Broadcasting there, it'll pop up in a moment. So basically what I'm able to do here is create a multi-view, and you can do it in many different ways. If you just want to view what you've already got as a multi-view, then you can turn on things like source names and tallies, have UMDs as a multi-view that you can then publish for people to see through a web browser. But in this case, I'm doing this thing called Presenter. And I'm just going to add my iPad there as well. I'm going to make it 60 frames a second and connect. Now I'm just going to shunt my browser across a little bit. I'm going to minimize OBS because I'm not using that now. And open up my NDI monitor. So in here, what we've now produced is a new output. You can see here I've actually got two cameras. I haven't actually done anything in terms of tuning up these cameras just yet, but you can see I've got a neat little side-by-side set up here with two cameras. which is quite cool. I've been able to do just a side-by-side within a web browser that I can now view as a new NDI source. But where it gets really cool is if I go into presenter control here, I've now got effectively a switcher where I can switch between full screen on any of these cameras. And you can see there's a fade or a transition between them. And I can go, that's my iPad that I'm connected with here. So if I minimize that, you can see the iPad. I can then choose the other camera that we have. Or I can go into these split screens where we can have side-by-sides and we can add in overlays, we can add in backgrounds and things. It's basically a mini vision switcher that's controllable completely via BirdDog Connect in the cloud. Cool thing with this is you can turn on and off as many of these as you like. You're not limited to having one switcher per computer like you would with like a vMix. So if you've got a bunch of different cases, maybe it's a bunch of meeting rooms, or maybe it's a bunch of lecture theatres or something like that, you can just turn on these connections and start making basic switching. And all of this is controlled via APIs or via automation and via a web browser. And again, I've got that PTZ control here, so I can actually move my camera around directly from the web browser and actually run this production directly from a web browser within Connect, which again, I think is pretty cool. I should have actually added in Anthony's camera as well, but we can add in cameras from different locations and do all sorts of stuff with that, which I think is a really neat kind of example of the processing power that we've got within BirdDog Connect, where we can have effectively a vision switcher built directly in here as well. Jumping back into connections, and I will sort of back off a little bit and talk a bit more about some of these things after. But one thing that might have not been seen, actually, let me just go close this one down and make a SRT connection. Another feature that we have here is if I choose a source, a sleeper feature here is the audio mode. You can see here we've got NDI audio, but we've also got the ability to do Dante audio as well. So we can do up to 32 channels of Dante audio as your audio sources with this, where you can have SDI video coming in or NDI video coming in, but your audio can come in through Dante that you can map in and send that either bundled up together as a connection, or you can use it as a transport to get all of your Dante sources from one location to another, which is pretty neat. So really, effectively, that's kind of the front door. It sort of shows you there's some possibilities where you can interact with video. It's not just about using something like an NDI bridge or SRT to get video from one place to another. It's actually more about how you can interact with that video in different ways, but make it feel like it's right there. I want to be able to move my camera in my browser. I want to be able to switch between sources. I want to be able to pick and choose what audio and video connections I have. And all of that can be done directly within Connect and just within a web browser. Cool thing with this is we have a bunch of control where you can set up your user access and things, so you don't have everyone with free roam to connect to different sources. You can let people monitor connections, but they can't make new ones, for example, and get really quite granular with this. In terms of security, it's got things like two-factor authentication to make sure that you don't have unwanted people coming into your organization. So it's designed to be pretty smart. In terms of the types of connections I was talking about, what I've shown you here is basically these single and multi-view connections. So a single connection is where I want to connect to Anthony's camera and controller. That's just a one-to-one connection, which is really pretty easy to do. Multi-view is where I had that presenter mode, where you can have multiple cameras and switch between them. Or you could do a multi-view layout, like I was saying before, where you have a 2+8 type view, where you can have multiple sources that get pumped together. You can choose to have different overlays like tally borders and audio meters and that kind of stuff. We also have this multi-stream, and this is really neat. I mentioned very briefly the remote production workflows. With multi-stream, we can take all of your cameras from one site, bundle them up into one connection, and keep them all in sync as it goes over the internet and back to your production site. So multi-stream is really powerful when you're doing a multi-camera production where you want to have all of the cameras off in a remote production or remote site, and you're doing all your switching locally. And that could be on vMix, or it could be on TriCaster, or even an SDI switcher if you wanted to as well. Some other really cool features we've got is this uncompressed audio connection. Now with that, we can actually send uncompressed audio from one location to another. And that can literally be an unlimited amount of audio sources that you connect from one place to another, which is awesome for anyone that's doing event type workflows where you want to take all the microphone sources and everything you have in one location, send them across somewhere else. So that's kind of a slightly different workflow. And this feature here, which is the Bird UI, I think this is a really cool feature where you can access the web UI of the camera remotely as well. So not only could I control Anthony's camera, but I could go into his web UI and actually adjust all of the settings for that camera, and that sends it across. And all of this without having to run virtual screen sharing and all that kind of stuff.
So you could go in and color correct my camera if the white balance was wrong.
Yeah, that's right. So I can go in and adjust everything right down to every single setting that you have locally. It's exactly the same. It pipes that connection through BirdDog Connect, so you access it within a browser like you're locally there.
Okay, I have your screen share. Let's go back to your camera on the main screen because we got a couple questions that have come in,
Absolutely.
so that I can have both you. I'll leave the screen share, but I guess on the OBS feed,
Yep.
so I can have you. Boop, 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 boop. And let's see. First question that came in. Can you compare this Connect web stream with NDI Bridge? I guess it's going to be the most obvious question, I guess.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And so I think NDI Bridge, if you look at it, if you
I don't
look at
I don't
NDI
see you
Bridge,
yet.
you don't see me.
No, you got to switch the OBS feed.
You're running the OBS feed. Sorry, there we go. I think I know what's going on. What about now? Do you see me now?
No, I see this screen. There you go.
Okay, cool. So we switched from screen share to OBS. Sorry.
You're good. I just want to make sure people could see you while you were answering the question.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you. With that flip thing, we didn't have that planned, so thank you for adjusting that on the fly. NDI Bridge is a way of connecting one location to another. NDI Bridge is somewhat similar to SRT in terms of it's a transport to get video across the internet from one place to another. With BirdDog Connect, we actually use both of those. We can use NDI Bridge or we can use SRT. The big thing of what we do is what's called orchestration of that. So that means that through a web browser, I can tell a source from somewhere to connect to a destination somewhere else. With NDI Bridge, you need to have a computer at each end. You need to open that up and choose how you want to connect those two devices. So it's much more interactive in terms of you need to have someone at both sites to make that work. With BirdDog Connect, we take that and control the NDI Bridge so that you can do that from a web browser or from your iPad or whatever you'd like, and allow you to interact with NDI Bridge. So basically, if you think of it in that sense, it's a management layer that sits above NDI Bridge, but it also gives you the choice to use not only NDI Bridge, but also SRT and other transports as well. So there's quite a few different choices there. And where it gets really interesting is on top of that management layer, BirdDog Connect has got all that video processing side of things, where you can do the pictures in pictures, you can do switches, you can add control, you can even add web browser viewing as well. So instead of using NDI Bridge, you can view it over a web browser.
All right, and then the next one comes up. What are the prerequisites for an NDI source to go out to the internet and connect to a BirdDog Connect?
Okay, so the great thing with NDI is that is the prerequisite, is if it says NDI, it's going to work. NDI is kind of the great normalizer of different sources. Of course, I'd love every camera in the world to be BirdDog cameras and every converter to be a BirdDog converter. That's not how the world works, of course. So if it works with NDI, it works with BirdDog Connect. So basically, if it's full NDI, if it's NDI HX2, if it's NDI HX3, all of those will come through and they'll be just viewed as any other source within there. As long as that source has control over NDI, so if it's a different brand of PTZ camera, if you can control it through NDI monitor, then you can use that through BirdDog Connect and control that remotely in exactly the same way. It just transports all of that control directly over. So it's universally compatible with any source. And like I said earlier, if it's not NDI, you can have a SDI capture card in your computer as well. So something like a Blackmagic capture card, and it will take the SDI sources and convert them across using NDI, using BirdDog Connect as well.
So, and then what else? Like I have my camera. My camera has NDI, but then I'm running Connect on my Mac Mini, as people saw in the list. So I'm running Connect on the Mini, and what that does, by my understanding, is it looks at the NDI on the local network and makes it available through that connection.
Yeah, so you were talking about the Mac Mini, which is actually a really good point to talk about, is what does it work on? How do you actually make BirdDog Connect work? It's a piece of software you install on a device. You can run it on a Mac, of course, because I've been showing you on my Mac here as well. You can run it on Windows. It'll also run as a service on Linux. So it can run on effectively any computer out there. Another one which we haven't spoken about too much is it also works on our BirdDog Plays. So the little $149 converter boxes can also be your Connect gateway. So they can actually allow you to see any NDI sources on your network. Once you've got that software running on whatever device it is, whether it's a Mac, a Windows, a Linux, a BirdDog Play, whatever NDI sources that are on your network then become seen by that application, and then they're available for Connect.
All right. So then also, I would say the third part of that is having the Connect subscription, which is in the cloud. And I'm trying to come over here and bring up our. You can scan and win a BirdDog Connect subscription.
I can't see the screen, but I'm going to point, and I don't know whether anyone
yeah, that's the correct direction. So yes, this is the part that is the glue between my location and Dan's location is the BirdDog Connect subscription that provides this connectivity in the cloud. So this cloud software is what connects you and me and any other location that you wanted to add too. So if people want to enter, and we do have a handful of entries already, which is really cool. So you can go to bit.ly BirdDog entry or use your phone and scan this code right here. And then that is, I guess, the third piece of the puzzle is that, you have to have an NDI device. And then you have your local connection, and it could be a BirdDog, like you said, a BirdDog Play that you sent along with the camera. And then those things, that Play is going to connect your camera to your BirdDog Connect subscription. And then once they're connected and they're plugged into an internet connection, they're going to show up as something that you can route, that you can rearrange, do a multi-view, and do live switching and all of that.
Yeah, that's right. So basically, the BirdDog Connect piece is you need to install that. You can go to the BirdDog website and install it. There's actually a free trial as well. Obviously, what we're giving away is not only the free trial, but also a subscription for it as well. But once you've got that installed, effectively, you're ready to go. You can try it all out. You can actually work with it. And really, I'm just scratching the surface of the different possibilities that we have here with Connect in terms of showing you that multi-view and showing you the switching. We briefly spoke about routing. We can choose an audio source from one NDI and a video source from another and create a route based on that. We can record locally. We can record remotely. We can do multiple recordings, ISO recordings with that. We can encode SDI. We can put it back out to SDI. There's effectively anything you want to do with video that's on your network is what BirdDog Connect can help you make happen.
All right, let's take a look at, somebody was jumping in, Dante!
Yes, it's pretty exciting.
Okay, Technicians in Wellington says, do both BirdDog controllers work with Connect? Oh, Dan's frozen for a moment. Let's see if it'll recover, because Dan's the expert here. Waiting for Dan's. I see his finger move, so it is trying to reconnect. I would tell him to refresh his browser and hopefully build a new connection. But we will wait. And is it coming? Is it coming? I'm waiting for the video to refresh. This is the magic of the
It'll
internet
refresh
around
in just
the world.
a second. Hang on.
I can hear you just fine
Let's
now.
go with. There we go. You should see
There we
it
go.
now.
All right. So the
was,
question is,
I think it was a running out of processor steam on my computer there. But we were just talking about controllers. So basically, anything that's NDI will interact and work with BirdDog Connect. So our keyboard controller, you can use that with BirdDog Connect. So you can have your PTZ controller in a completely different location. And with the new one, even with the multi-view, that will all come through where you can see all your video sources on the keyboard controller. And again, access all of those controls. Where things differ a little bit between our Generation 1 and the Generation 2 controller is having advanced adjustments. So you can do basic things like adjust your, or scroll through different white balances and do some basic exposure. But you won't be able to do things like turn on AI auto tracking and things like that. That's all done on the keyboard version 2 or the KBD. It gives you more advanced control, but both of them will actually work directly with Connect.
Right. So the same limitations of the first one compared to the second one are going to be the same whether it's local or through Connect.
Correct, yeah. So both of them do work natively with NDI. So you'll be able to find your sources, you'll be able to interact with them, you can recall presets and save presets and adjust the controls. But on the new keyboard, you get effectively everything that you use locally is exactly the same remotely.
All right. And I'm gonna thank Technicians Wellington for the nicely worded question. Can any of the cameras and converters connect to Connect directly? I love the alliteration.
Yes. So connect directly. So the window, I guess, into the future there, the answer is right now, no. We work with what we call an endpoint. But what we've done is make that on the BirdDog Play now. So that's actually available in the very latest firmware with BirdDog Play. So that's a little window into the future of where we're heading. Now, I'm dancing on a little bit of an edge here because I promised that I don't talk about features that aren't available until they're ready. So at the moment, if you wanted to connect a camera to Connect, you would need to use an endpoint. That endpoint could be a computer, which is Windows, Mac, or Linux, or it could also be the little BirdDog Play device. But it is definitely a watch this space
Well,
type of
and
situation
then
there.
I know somebody's going to ask because you keep saying Linux. Is a Raspberry Pi powerful enough?
So not in the way that this is set up. So basically what we're doing with the Linux connection, we're using an Intel-based Linux type connection. So you need to install it on something like an Ubuntu desktop machine or something like that. Because with BirdDog Connect, it's doing a bunch of processing with all of those presenter modes and all that kind of stuff where we're doing video switching. What we do have, and I did actually sort of skip over it because there's so much to get into here, is we actually have this thing called NDI HX pass-through. So if you've got NDI HX sources, we can use a much lower power device like a Raspberry Pi or like our BirdDog Play, where we just take the incoming video stream and rewrap it into an internet-friendly one and route it to its destination, which means you need a much lower power device. And that's where things like the Play integration works. And that's really where you can see things heading with the cameras and things as well. If we embed it in there, we've already got the video compressed. We're just pointing it into the right direction with BirdDog Connect.
Right. Bowles Promo says, I won this last month, so this is good.
Excellent. Congratulations. Well, hopefully you've seen a little bit about what it can do, but there's a bunch of things. I'm in the process of recording a bunch of videos and training of how all the different segments work within BirdDog Connect because there's just so many different workflows where it can help out.
This is definitely a tool where it is much deeper than it looks. It's kind of like, vmix is, oh yeah, you can just get a couple inputs. Oh yeah, it's way deeper than that. Same thing with this.
Exactly right. Yep.
So Ball's Promo is saying I can bring an NDI camera into my Director Mini at a live stream at another club. So that in and of itself, as long as you have an endpoint, that's the key thing. You still need to have an endpoint at the other.
And by endpoint we mean basically a piece of software running on a computer on your network.
Right. Oh, we have another question come in. Can it, and I guess they mean Connect in the cloud, can it host video clips and image layers for playout?
We don't do video clips for playout, but we do overlays. So when I was doing that little vision switcher thing within the presenter mode, there's actually an overlay layer in there as well, which can be static or it can also be an NDI layer that's got transparency as well. So you can have background layers, but we don't have a video playback engine as such.
So when you say image overlays, are the images stored in the cloud or in Connect?
So with image overlays, you store that in the cloud. So you can upload your image to the cloud and then you can have that turned on. For video overlays, so if we're using an NDI with an overlay with transparency, that's a live input. So you would need to send a graphics from an NDI title, like something like New Blue or something like that.
Right. So if somebody, and does it support alpha as well? So if New Blue is doing an alpha channel on NDI,
absolutely, yes. Yeah.
Okay. So that definitely, and hey, that also means you can have your graphics person for your show somewhere else.
Absolutely. They can be wherever you like. So.
Okay. And then in terms of graphics, I also wanted to put up this graphic that's stored in the cloud again. You can scan and win. Hey, Bert, and there are a lot of people entering in this show because they're starting to see how powerful this software really is. and they're like, okay, I want a piece of that. So this one's going to be a good contest. Bit.ly BirdDog entry, and then you can scan that QR code right there if you're looking to enter to win a free 1 year subscription to BirdDog Connect right here. So another question has come in. Let me hide. I'm going to leave the graphic up for a couple seconds, let people scan it. Actually about to lift off here, but wanted to throw any updates to the mini firmware and when is it going to be in beta or production ready? Talk to you later.
I think I know who was asking about that. We've got some updates for all of our products. We've been talking about them each week, right? Every week there's new firmware. The Mini, which is actually one of our older products, it's the second converter we ever built. We do have a firmware update that's coming for that. It's just going through QA at the moment, which upgrades it to the latest versions of NDI and things. I think I might have been talking with this person on Facebook, but I thought there was a beta version of it available. It's actually just going through QA right now. So hopefully in the next week or two we'll have that out. It is pretty close in terms of where it's at with the integration. It's very similar to what we have in our Flex converters, and we're just bringing that onto the Mini as well.
Awesome. So is there anything else in Connect that you want to highlight?
Yeah, what I want to do, let me just see if I can bring it up here, is just show you, because I did actually do a, that's going to share, I'm just going to share my screen.
I've got the other screen. So I've got your screen share already.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to go to my my iPad as well. So
okay.
You can see my computer screen, can you?
Yes. Or I can see the Connect window.
Right, okay. So I'm going to change my camera so you can see it there. Let's do that. So my camera should now be my iPad. Can you see that?
Okay.
Yep. So what I was mentioning before, when we were connecting up your camera and mine as well into that little multi-view, I added some labels there, like it was at Anthony's studio and things like that. Let me just quit out of here and jump in. So this is my app that I have, which is you can install. It's free to get on the App Store. It's the BirdDog Connect app. It can run on any device, whether it's an Apple TV, so it's a TV-based application, as well as any of your mobile devices.
There we go.
And you can see here that I've got those same groups that I set up before. So if I jump into this one that was called Branded Group, and the reason why I called it Branded Group was just me putting in different logos. So you can have your company logo or your client logo, so when they're logging in, it's customized for them. So what you'll see here now is I've got my sources. There's my camera, and if I touch on there, you can see the actual text that's written there is the text that I wrote when I made that connection. So it's almost like when you're looking at a Netflix or whatever, you've got your bio of what the application is or what the show is. We can do the same thing with our connections within BirdDog Connect, where you can have a bit of a description. So if you're doing a live event, you can actually write in there what the event is. So then when someone's choosing between those and selecting them, they can actually see the information. And then when they select it, it opens up and it'll connect. So you see here, this is now going through and connecting to your camera again. And that's on my iPad now.
I can definitely see a use case of this, especially if you're doing a multi-location corporate event and you have stage camera and you have back camera and different, and people are going to label them for their own location. But with that added description, you can include what location, because you've got different cities per se, and you can say this one's in Toronto, this one's in Chicago, this one's in Brisbane, and
nice
different I know. I'm speaking to someone from Australia. I better say it better. And that way you can have that additional information that will help organize all this different content in terms of having 10, 20 different cameras or more.
That's right. Sorry, I've gone and moved around there. Yeah, looking at your legs there. But you can see I'm actually swiping around on my iPad and controlling the camera as well. So it's actually a really neat little setup where you can connect between them and you can see and switch between cameras really easily. So I think that's an important one, is to say it really joins everything into an ecosystem where you can be sitting in another location with an Apple TV or an Android TV and actually browse these sources. And it's almost like you're looking at a live TV station or an internet-based TV station where you can choose your different stations, have a look at the descriptions, and then you can connect to it as well.
So in this case, like if you are managing a multi-location production, you could technically have, a producer just sort of like sit back and just oversee the production while local producers are actually managing each show. You're still able to like, okay, let me just check in on this, let me check in on that one, let me check in on the other one.
Yeah, yeah. So you could have one of these little groups that I've got here, where there was, yeah, the branded group. You could just have an over the shoulder group, and in there you could have multi views for each one of your productions, where they can, as a producer or as a EP, they can just connect into any of those local multi views and see any of those sources they like. They can, click around and see everything in their whole media production.
It's like if you're in a truck, it's like that producer that's walking around just checking over everything. Everybody's good here. Everybody's good here. Okay, we're good.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But with the ability that if they're given the permission, they can actually go in and dial the thing. And that'll be one question I throw in terms of bringing in operators. How do you manage the permissions of the operators who you might be bringing in to control these things? So I've got a studio with cameras, but I don't necessarily want them to have access to other things or other locations.
Absolutely. So there's a whole bunch of layers of control within this. And so what we've tried to do with Connect is make it as easy and approachable for someone that just wants to install it and get going. If you sign up, you've got your username and password, and you can create a connection. But if you're running in an organization which has got a lot more control over things, it gets deep in that layer as well in terms of the management of how that works. I just want to double confirm, you can see my screen share at the moment, can you?
Yes.
Yes, excellent. Right, so I've jumped into the company control layer here, and you can see we've got a bunch of things. Firstly, there's two-factor authentication I can turn on, so we can actually get straight away much more secure in terms of how we actually have people logging in to make sure it's only the right people that will connect in here. And we can set a whole bunch of different presets and things like that. But where it gets important is these access control lists. And so with access control lists, you can see here we have different connection profiles that we can create. And they can either be, they can belong to a company. That's kind of, you have to be part of a company. But can they make a connection? Can they add new endpoints? Can they create new groups to share in? You can get really granular about individual users and actually say, this person can log in and they can see things, but they can't actually adjust anything at all. Where someone else can log in and they can create things, but they can't delete anything. You can get very, very granular with any of these. And if you edit in here, we can just add or remove permissions as we like. You can see, just as an example, there's a router. Actually, a neat one that just reminded me here, without jumping around too much, we can turn on and off the ability to route. That can be dangerous, of course. You don't want everyone to be able to route video around your organization. But another cool thing we've got here is we can give people the access to router QR codes. And that means that they can actually scan a QR code and change a source, even if they aren't able to actually interact or make new routes and things. So there's a bunch of different things that we can add in and take out. This is designed to scale to enterprise and have very granular control. In the same way as when I had these groups here where we had the web streams, which is where I was doing that connection on the iPad and things like that, we can actually edit in here and say, I want to have people, want to have no passwords, we want to have it so it's only internal, no externals, whether we have PTZ control and things like that. So you can get really very, very specific about how everyone can interact with BirdDog Connect in your organization.
Very cool. And in terms of the using this within a location, it's still going to the cloud though for the Cloud Connect. It's not just a local app, is it?
So, and this is actually a really important discussion around how this works. So, and this is one of the fundamental reasons why we changed the name from BirdDog Cloud to BirdDog Connect, is this isn't a cloud service. You can deploy, you can run one of the cloud endpoints or one of the Connect endpoints in the cloud on AWS if you want to, but all the media processing and everything that you're doing with your video pixels is all done on that endpoint that you install on your Mac or your Windows or your Linux machine. And that's all done locally. The only bit that is remote or cloud-based is this web interface that we have, this where we control it to actually tell it what to do. At no stage do those pixels go to our server. It doesn't have to leave your building. You don't need any data allocations and things like that. You don't need to open up network ports. If you want to do all of this stuff like basic vision switching, if you want to do viewing locally with those web streams, if you want to connect with NDI Bridge between two campuses over your own WAN, none of that needs to touch the internet at all. And we can actually even get right specific about that, where with our endpoints, when we've got them set up, we can actually go in here and choose our local overrides to be local IP addresses only, which means it will never send that traffic over the internet.
Interesting. So this way, for people who are working in corporate environments where they really need to manage where the data passes through, that capability is already baked into the solution.
That's right. And we've got a bunch, if there is a corporate kind of setup that you're looking at, we do have a bunch of IT-sec-based documentation, so IT security documentation, and a full description of how all of the connectivity and data paths work. So we can very quickly work with your IT administration to make sure they're comfortable with how this operates as well. It's been designed to be corporate friendly in every way.
Very cool. Let us see if we got another question or two.
I can't see the screen share, so I'm hearing the laughing, so I'm bracing myself.
I'll put it up. I'll put it up. Anthony has legs. Has it ever been done before?
I'm sorry about that. I was scrolling.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right. Well, we don't have any more questions. We've gone pretty much an hour. So Dan, I really want to thank you for showing up, giving us an introduction to Connect. And I'm sure there's even more here that we could actually do a follow-up show with this.
Absolutely. I really want to, this one here, like I said, I was literally flying yesterday and I'm in my home office here. I got home at 10 o'clock last night and I was up at 5 o'clock this morning for this. So there's been no setup with this at all. But I would love to go into some of the post-production workflows in another session and maybe actually quite deep into the routing and how you can get video from one source to another and how really deep the control goes within Connect as well. So there's a lot more in here as you get into it.
All right. So I think that's definitely we're going to be doing a follow-up show on this just because there's really so many layers to this onion, so many different things that we need to connect with Connect. And so again, thank you very much for being there to walk us through this. And with that, I will say good day and wish you a great rest of the day there because you're a whole day ahead of me. So let me know how tomorrow works. And
so far it's good. I haven't seen any light yet, so I can't tell you how bright and sunny it is.
All right. So thank you again. I will talk to you next time. And with that, I'm going to, once again, one last time, the entries are still coming in. If you haven't already, this is going to be your last chance to win this very software, a 1-year BirdDog Connect subscription, bit.ly/BD entry for BirdDog entry, or point your phone at this QR code. It will take you to an entry form. You fill out your name, email address, do that a second time just in case there was a typo, and then a couple questions, and that will put you in the running to win a copy of this very software, a license. So there's nothing to ship. It basically just activates wherever you are. And as you've saw in the comments already, there's somebody watching this who is just really digging the capability, and they won from a previous episode because we give one of these away every single show. So if you don't win today, be sure to tune in next time, and you'll have another opportunity to win 1-year subscription to BirdDog Connect. So with that, I am going to come on down. Let's see, I don't have this set up, so I'm just going to do this on the fly. Let me make sure I got that. I'm going to add a screen share window. I'm just going to say it out loud as I do it. And let me adjust this. Okay. Off to the side. All right, I'm going to share that one. Share, and then we're going to go side by side. So that will end the chances to win. These are the names that have come in. I'm going to copy all these names, and I do this in front of you so that you can see that I am doing this live, copying these names, and then I'm going to switch tabs to our wheel of names. There's no names in there yet. It just says BirdDog entry. I'm going to copy these. I'm going to paste all of those entries. You can see them all right there. And then I'm going to click in the middle here, and we are going to see congratulations to Corey Evans, who is going to be get a 1-year subscription, I will forward the emails over to BirdDog, and they will make sure that you get set up with a 1-year subscription to BirdDog Connect, of which we have only scratched the surface of all the really deep things that it can do. So thank you for participating in the giveaway, and stop sharing. Thank you all for being here for this episode of the BirdDog Live Session. Again, I really appreciate everyone who tunes in live with the opportunity to ask questions, to get those answers, get something demonstrated in real time, and the chance to win. So there's a lot of value in terms of being here for these live shows. But even if you can't make a live show, be sure to tune into our previous live shows. And there's a lot of really great information if you're interested in the Mach-E Live camera, if you're interested in the Mach-E Studio and the controller. We've done shows on those, so be sure to look at the previous episodes of live shows, check out the different things that we've covered, and be sure to keep your eye out for future episodes. With that, I will say thank you for watching.